Okay, so once you guys get all of your pieces fitting together perfectly in all of your corners, you can start foiling. So we're just going to do one piece at a time. And you'll notice that there's some white powdery dust from grinding it. So I just use my clothes because I don't care. But you guys can grab a dry paper towel and just wipe off the edges so your foil will stick. So what foil are we going to use? Are we going to use black foil or copper foil?
Black. Copper.
Black foil. Black foil is for transparent glass. Okay, so when you hang it up in the window, it's not as noticeable if you foil unevenly. This stuff is really bright. It's copper underneath, so if you foil unevenly, it's more noticeable. Okay, so you use this for glass that you cannot see through, opalescent. Okay, your black foil is for the transparent. So, I don't want you guys bringing these to your desks, so you just need to rip off a long piece, and you can always come get more. Okay, and don't take these out of the containers because they unravel and they make a huge mess. And I know you guys are not patient enough to sit there and wrap it back up because I'm the one who does it all the time. So grab a long piece and keep this on the wooden shelf over here. If you have smaller pieces, okay, not for your heart but for other patterns, there's a scrap box up here, and there are thinner pieces and thicker pieces of foil, so make sure you're grabbing the same size. This one is thinner. You can tell it's a lot thinner than this piece. Okay? So you guys can use the scrap stuff. Don't ever throw small pieces of foil away because people can reuse them. Okay? So I grabbed the black foil and I grabbed the thinner stuff, okay? There's a 1/4 inch and then there's a smaller one. The smaller one, your soldering lines will look thinner and neater. If you use thicker foil, your solder lines are going to be thicker and look a little gaudy if you get too much solder on there. Okay? So you're just going to peel this back. Okay, and the 2 is the one I wiped off. There are 2 ways to foil. Okay, making sure that this is in the middle of the foil. It's a lot harder than it looks. Okay, this side has less foil than this side. So I'm holding this down with my finger. I'm going to lift it up and scoot it over. Press it down. When it's even, I can start wrapping around and keep going. If it's not even, don't keep going because then you have to take it all off and start over. Okay, so don't move on until it's straight. So, you notice, I did not start on a corner. Don't ever start on a corner because this tape is easier to peel off if it's on a corner. Okay? So I always start like in the middle. So I am wrapping my glass piece towards me so I can see that I'm putting it in the middle. Some people roll the glass away from them. Whatever is easier for you. Okay, if it starts getting uneven, move it. But don't keep going if it's uneven. Okay? You can only unpeel it like once or twice. After that, it's not going to be sticky anymore, and you're going to have to take the whole piece off and refoil it. So you don't want to press it down really hard and it's uneven, then you have to move it. If it's not even, move it again. You only want to have to move it maybe once. Okay, then when I get back to where I started, you want to overlap where you started. Okay, I'm just overlapping it just a little bit. I started right here. I'm ending right here. Okay, I just use my fingernail to rip it. Okay, so I foiled this as even as I could. Now I'm going to push down the sides, so the sides stick to the glass. Do not push down the corners with your fingers. This is copper. It's very thin copper, but this will stab you. If you push down really hard, it will poke a hole through your skin. So I use the desk to push my corners down. Okay? Now we need to burnish your piece with a Sharpie or popsicle stick. And to burnish just means that you're pressing down really hard to make sure your foil sticks and there's no bumps. Okay? So first I burnish the top. Okay, just pressing down really hard. And you notice that I'm keeping it on the ground. If you hold it up and you go like this, what could happen? You could snap it in half because you're putting a lot of pressure on it. So I always like to keep it flat. Okay, so now I have to do the sides. I'm pushing down really hard. If I were to hold it in my hand like this, I could snap it very easily. So always make sure you just have it down on your desk. Get all those wrinkles out. And you can use a popsicle stick too. They're the same. Okay, then I'm going to put this back. So you guys will notice that if you had gaps, your gaps are going to be smaller after you foil because you're adding another layer around the edges. Okay, so you're going to do that with every piece. If you hold your piece up and you see a lot of black, and a lot of black, flip it, look on both sides. That means you foiled it really unevenly. Okay? So remember, as you're foiling, wrapping it around your piece, make sure it's even as you go. If it's not, fix it right away. Okay? Don't keep going and do the whole piece if it's uneven. Alright? So I'm going to move on to my next piece, wipe off the edges, and keep going. So when you guys start foiling and you come up to grab your foil, make sure that you're grabbing the same size every time. Don't grab the thick foil and then you use all of this and you come back and you grab the thin oil or the thin foil. Because when you solder, all your soldering lines are going to be different thicknesses then. Okay? Does anyone have a question on foiling?
We use the thicker ones.
The thicker one is easier to put on. Your soldering lines are just going to look a lot thicker when you're done. I like the thin one. It's harder to foil, but it looks a little neater when you're done. Once you guys have all of your pieces foiled, you're going to pin them back together on your ceiling tile so they don't wiggle, and then you're ready to solder. Okay? started and stopped, it overlaps a little bit and it's not even, so I just didn't exactly cut those. Like right there, it doesn't match up.
¿Quién dice que la práctica es el maestro?
Put them back together. Really tight. Don't move.
That's the point. There's more people there, so
Y él solo estaba jugando.
Okay, and so before I start soldering, I'm going to make sure that this is kind of right in the middle. There's a little gap here and a little gap here instead of one big one.